All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of the Yellow Card Podcast. It is episode 38. The Yellow Card Podcast is presented to you by Couch Guy Sports. Check out couchguysports.com for all your daily content on sports and entertainment. Your host is always Diego Galvis, accompanied by the two best co-hosts I could have ever picked for this podcast, Andrew Fasciano and Chris Jones. Boys, we're burning the midnight oil today. Recording a little bit late, but I like it. Kind of like it a lot because it gave me a lot of time to actually use my noggin and have some idea of what I want to say for once.
Rather than just winging it.
Right? But anyways, we had like a little bit of a in-between period or where we're just wondering like what action to expect next. But we got a lot of action coming up in this, literally in like days at this point. It's not even weeks, it's like days at this point. We got Euros starting on Friday, Copa America in South America starting, I believe, on Sunday. We got a very hot stove-like transfer window happening already with a lot of transfers taking place right now. So let's dive in. Let's start talking about some of the things that we got. So let's talk about Euro 2020 because I feel like we've done a good job here at Couch Guy Sports covering the Euros so far, with some players to watch, some teams to follow, some people that might be underappreciated and overlooked, but that could bring a lot of potential into Euros 2020. And I mean, overall, just the European conference in itself has serious talent just brewing all together. So let's dive in. Which one of you two wants to take the lead on the groups and how they're broken down? Want to do it?
All right, I'll do it. I guess I lost.
Go for it.
For those who don't know. So groups, we got 6 groups here. Group A is Italy, Wales, Switzerland, and Turkey. Group B is Finland, Russia, Denmark, and Belgium. Group C is Netherlands, Ukraine, North Macedonia, and Austria. Group D is England, Croatia, Scotland, and the Czech Republic. Group E is Poland, Slovakia, Sweden, and Spain. And Group F is that group of death: Portugal, France, Germany, and then unfortunately Hungary has that to deal with.
Oh. What a deadly group in itself, honestly. All right, so now that we got the group stages, we know that on Friday things get started, and we know Italy goes head-to-head against Turkey, which many kind of overlook Turkey, but I mean, history has it. These two have always had really good games to start right off the go. But with that said, obviously we know who's starting Friday. And we know that we have a wild card on Saturday as well. Let's start talking about who we see as potential winners and also who you foresee as an underdog in the competition, but that that could potentially win this as well. So, Andrew, I'm going to kick it off to you first, considering that Chris just went, and then we'll go you, Chris, and then myself. All right?
Yeah. Sounds good.
Hold on, wait, real quick. How are we doing this again?
So we're gonna do this. We're gonna pick 3 teams that we think could win Euro 2020, 2 underdogs, and 1 that nobody would even consider, but that could actually win it. So 2 underdogs and like a dark horse, basically.
Okay.
All right. So Andrew, kick us off.
Okay. I had 3 teams in mind. I'm not sure that they quite fit the underdog definition, but I'll give you the 3 teams that I had in mind, and then I can come up with a little outside shot later on. So 3 teams that I like right off the bat. There's a lot of pressure on England ahead of this tournament, given what they did at the World Cup in 2018. I feel like expectations are pretty sky high with this group. It's a young group that has had a couple years since that World Cup to continue to improve. So I think England will want to at least get to the semifinals of this tournament. And I think it's possible for sure, given the talent that they have on their roster. Another team that I like out of Group C is the Netherlands. They're without their big dog at center back, Virgil van Dijk. Obviously, he missed most of the season due to injury, but I still think they have a lot of talent in their squad. Maybe not the best goalkeeping group, but I think they have standout players in pretty much every outfield position. Guys like Frankie de Jong, I think I'm really excited to see what he does at this tournament. I think this could be a huge launching pad as he continues improving at Barcelona. And in terms of attack, I'm looking forward to watching Memphis Depay at these Euros because, again, I feel like he's a player that we've brought up in recent weeks as someone who could be potentially on the move out of the French league. He has a little bit of something to prove, I think, given maybe he's had a couple of quieter years after departing the EPL, not quite as in the spotlight as he would be in that league, in the French league. So I think he could use the tournament to make a statement and get his name back in the headlights. And then the third team, one that I think you can't really ignore, France, the winners of the 2018 World Cup. Their squad is absolutely ridiculous, just super talented throughout. They have an incredible midfield with guys like Pogba and Conte who can just dominate the game and control things in the middle of the pitch. So I think if I had to pick one team that I thought should be the favorites coming in, I would probably say France, to be honest.
All right. And what about your underdogs?
Yeah. I don't know if they're an underdog to win the tournament, but a team that I'm really excited to watch that falls into the underdog category is Scotland. I think their game against England is going to be one of the must-watch games of the tournament, in my opinion, given the rivalry that those two countries have. It's the first time they've been at a major tournament in a really long time, so I think they're going to be motivated to try and make their mark on this tournament. They're in a tough group with England and Croatia probably would be the two favorites to get out of that one. So they're going to have to try and beat Czech Republic, I think, if they want to stay competitive and try and get out of the group. But in terms of teams that are probably not amongst the favorites, that's one that I'm excited just to see what they do at this tournament.
All right. And you have one more underdog to pick. And then you have a dark horse after that.
How about Russia? I think they surprised a lot of people at the 2018 World Cup on their home territory. So I'm interested to see whether or not they can follow that up or if it proves to be a little bit of a fluke given that they were playing at home. I think they could use this tournament to build on that and continue elevating their profile as a footballing nation, I think you could say. And then I have one more country, you said?
Yeah, one dark horse. Yep.
I'm going to go with Poland for my next dark horse. I think any team that has a goal scorer as good as Robert Lewandowski is capable of creating some chaos. You'd probably pick Spain to top that group E, but I think Poland has a very good shot of getting out of it. Slovakia and Sweden are both solid teams, but I think they're both teams that Poland could compete with and potentially beat. So I'm interested in seeing just how far Lewandowski can take them at this tournament.
Perfect. Awesome choices. Honestly, I like the Scotland and Russia underdog story. I like that a lot. All right, over to you, Chris. Remember, three teams that you definitely see as the winners: two underdogs and a dark horse.
So it pains me to say it, but England gets a tough draw no matter what. Because you got to think of it like this, right? You got to think that they easily win Group D, right? If they do that, they would play whoever comes in second out of Germany, France, and Portugal in the round of 16. That's not a good draw for them at all.
No.
And even if they come in second, they would play they'd play the second in Group E. And to me, that's Poland. And like Andrew said, Poland's a sneaky good team. So my three that I'm definitely riding Belgium. Belgium looks talented from top to bottom, and I can't wait to see what that Belgium team does. Looking to see if De Bruyne is up to par if he's playing for them or not. Would be a big loss if he's not on the field for them. Definitely keep my eyes out. Italy, I like the young talent that Italy has. I think that Donnarumma's going to be one of the if not the best goaltender in the entire Euro 2020. And then the other favorite, I'm going to say Germany. I like Germany. I like what they have. I like that squad. I trust Manuel Neuer more than I trust Hugo Lloris personally. And I think that Germany wins their group as well. So I'm taking Germany, Belgium, and Italy as my 3 favorites. Two
Underdogs.
2 underdogs. Would you consider Portugal an underdog because they're coming out of that hell group? I'd consider, if we're talking that, I'll go Portugal there, and then I'll go Croatia. Croatia's a sneaky good team as well. You got the likes of Luka Modric, you got the likes of Ivan Perisic from Inter. You have you have Kovacic from Chelsea. They have a solid midfield game, and if they can get going, this could be a sneaky good team and a team that could potentially even sneak out and win Group D over England. And then my underdog team that I'm kind of watching out for, Group A, Wales, Gareth Bale, Aaron Ramsey. You got Tyler Robbins, you got Daniel James. You got Ben Davies. You got some solid players in this lineup. And for me, I think they can sneakily work their way into at least potentially the quarterfinals, depending on what their draw looks like.
All right. I'm just jotting them down so that when we look at the final stages of Euro 2020s, we can say who was the closest one to getting it correctly. So I definitely like Chris's picks of Belgium, Italy, and Germany. I think they're phenomenal 3 teams, as well as the 2 underdogs and the dark horse. I think for my 3 teams, I'm also gonna go with France. I think it's impossible to ignore the amount of talent that they got brewing up there. You look at now Karim Benzema coming back to the French national team, pairing up with Antoine Griezmann. You look at French people like Kingsley Coman, Paul Pogba, and all these other guys that are in that lineup. And you look at a Hugo Lloris who may take this tournament as a potential opportunity to kind of rebrand his name, considering that season with Tottenham wasn't the best season that he could have had, and it was a rocky season too. I mean, when you have Jose Mourinho as your coach and somebody who's constantly making you doubt yourself as a player, it's time to rekindle those components that made you really good of a goalkeeper. And I think Didier Deschamps did a really good job with this roster. So I'm going to consider France as a potential winner. I'm also going to go with Belgium too. I think, to Chris's point, Belgium has a lot of talent growing as well. Great goalkeeping, great midfield defense as well. I mean, you got Alderweireld, you got all these other great components as well. Then you look at like from the middle to the offense. You got Romelu Lukaku, who's still relatively young, creating a lot of havoc for defenses across the world. In fact, I think he was the goal scorer of the league this year for Serie A. Then you look at Eden Hazard, who's also had a troubling season with Real Madrid. This might be an opportunity for him to kind of re-increase his value once again. Kevin De Bruyne, who Chris said, I mean, there's not much you can't say about Kevin De Bruyne. The guy is just a massive talent overall. And I'm kind of curious to see how Thibaut Courtois would do with the Belgian squad. I think he was shaky for Real Madrid, but Real Madrid in itself was just a shaky team altogether. So I'm definitely gonna go with Belgium there. And I think for my my third team, even though they have a tough draw altogether and a tough competition to come through, they're young enough to be able to handle it. And that team is England for me. They've chosen to go with the route of having Marcus Rashford be their captain, which I think is a phenomenal decision in itself. He's shown through true leadership in his time in Manchester United. He carries himself as a leader, anyways, and he's somebody that really respects that that shirt and what that shirt really values for the English team. You got great goalkeeping, great defensive line with Kyle Walker, Kieran Trippier, all these guys that are just a phenomenal value. John Stones. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. You look at the midfield. You're looking at somebody like Declan Rice. You're looking at Jack Grealish. You're looking at Jesse Lingard. You're looking at all these guys, and you're looking at just how young that core really is, and you're just impressed altogether. It's like literally like the 20 to 25 age group from the English Premier League, which all of them are just in phenomenal shape and great value that they bring. So I think Southgate realistically has a very good shot at winning the Euro 2020. I think for my two underdogs, I'm gonna go with Portugal and Spain. Spain this year is playing without Sergio Ramos as their captain, but I think that without him, they can still carry a lot of weight. They have Alvaro Morata. They have why am I drawing a blank? They have Gerard Moreno, who just won the Europa League with Villarreal, another great guy that's developing rather fast.
They still got Rodri.
They still got Rodri. They got Thiago. They got Sergio Busquets.
Traore.
They got Traore. They got Pau Torres. Emerick Laporte, who Laporte, interestingly enough, was a reject of the French team by Didier Deschamps, and because of his grandma's background being Spanish, he can actually make himself a Spanish eligible player for the national squad, which I can't blame Luis Enrique for taking the opportunity. When you have Laporte available, why wouldn't you? You got Cesar Azpilicueta, who's also been phenomenal with Chelsea, just won the Champions League as well. My questionable spot when it comes to Spain is obviously David De Gea. He's had shaky performances with the national team. He's had shaky performances with Manchester United. I don't know what to expect of him, but I hope that Luis Enrique repurposes him to kind of bring that confidence back on. With Portugal, I'm really interested to see Bruno Fernandes and Cristiano Ronaldo go to work. It's for me when I look at those two, it's like past and present versus the future, because I think Bruno Fernandes is realistically the future for Portugal. He's very versatile, skillful as hell with that ball. So I think for my two underdogs is Spain and Portugal, and I think for my dark horse, realistically, my dark horse here. That's a great question. I'm actually gonna say for my dark horse, I'm gonna go with Croatia. I think they are a highly overlooked team, but that carries a lot of depth and diversity in that team. They got the likes of Ivan Perisic, Mateo Kovacic, Super Mario Mandzukic, Luka Modric, who continues to be a top form. They have a really young goalie, whose name I'm not even gonna bother pronouncing. I think realistically, they're one of those teams that people overlook, but cause a lot of trouble for people like Germany, people like Sweden, people like Netherlands, all these other guys that have a lot of potential, but that always struggle against that one team. And I feel like Croatia is that. So those are personally my choices.
Well, to go back on the Dutch, when Andrew was talking about the Dutch, sorry to go a little off topic, but that defensive crew, I mean, even without Van
Dijk,
you still have Matthias de Ligt, you got Nathan Ake, you got Ben Anholt, you still got Denzel Dumfries, you got Daley Blind, DeVry. They got some talent. Obviously, their midfielder, Van de Beek, De Jong, Wijnaldum, Quincy Promise, and then adding up front, Weghorst from where does he play? It's in the Bundesliga. I can see the logo. I can't think of the team name. It doesn't matter. It might be Wolfsburg. I can't think of it. I can see the logo. I can't think of the name.
What's the color of the logo?
It's like a green. It's a green W, so it might be Wolfsburg.
Or it could be Werder Bremer.
That's the one. That's the one. Yeah, but no, they're low key a deep threat as well. It all depends on. For me, I'm just more so looking forward to what the round of 16 looks like after we see what the group stages go through.
Agree. So now speaking of group stages as well and qualifying rounds, let's move over from Europe over to South America. Excuse me, my throat just been horrible all week. Looking at South America. Yeah, right. Looking at South America real quick. So this past Tuesday, it was match day 7 out of 18 matches that they go through for the qualifying rounds to South America. However, I gotta be honest with you, not a lot of excitement out of the top 3 teams, considering that all 3 teams kind of struggled in their own ways to really overperform from the players, the teams that they were facing. Just real quick, it was Bolivia versus Venezuela. Bolivia came out winning 3-1 against Venezuela, which is unreal. Usually you don't see Bolivia handing this type of wins over a team as good as Venezuela. Uruguay and Paraguay tied at 0. Argentina and Chile tied at 1. Colombia and Peru, Colombia won 3-0. And then Brazil and Ecuador 2-0, with Brazil winning. Brazil with a star-studded lineup. They had Richarlison, Neymar. Oh God, why am I forgetting more names here? They had Alisson Becker in net. They had Lucas Paqueta from one of their Brazilian league teams. Casemiro, Fred started in the lineup for Brazil, which is a huge opportunity for Fred. Danilo, Marquinhos, Alexandro. So I mean, you're looking at a very, very good and deep Brazilian lineup. However, this game pretty much came down to really being all about discipline, because for a long while Brazil was falling into the fouls game with Ecuador here, to the point that they almost tied realistically at fouls. Brazil had 12, Ecuador had 16. But then you look at the ball possession of things and you say, how did Brazil really not win this game for far more, considering that deep of a lineup that they had, and also the substitutions that they had available? I mean, you have Vinicius Jr., you had
Firmino.
Firmino, you had Fabinho available, you had Gabriel Jesus. You're looking just up and down the lineup and you're like, how did these guys not win 5-0 at least against these guys? I will say, though, the Ecuadorian team has been the surprise thus far for the qualifying rounds. Actually, now they're standing in 3rd place behind Argentina and Brazil. So good for the Ecuadorians. Then you move over to another surprising match, which was extremely close and very similar altogether, which was Argentina and Chile. All the action in that match really came down in the first half. Argentina scored first via penalty. Lionel Messi put it in the back of the net. And then Alexis Sanchez, about 12 minutes after, scored a beautiful goal against Argentina. Argentina was also super stacked. However, in a very weird lineup, they went with a 4-2-2-2. which realistically kind of left for a chaotic midfield confusion, as well as who is really your forward, because they had Paredes from PSG, they had Luis Ocampos from Sevilla, Alex, oh my God, Angel Di Maria, Lionel Messi, and they had Lautaro Martinez. So realistically, your forward was Lautaro Martinez, but when you leave Lionel Messi in a 4-2-2-2 formation, it kind of makes him feel like he needs to be running around all over the place. And I will say, a phenomenal effort by Lionel, but a 1-1 draw against a Chilean team that's kind of getting old, and you kind of already know how they play. Kind of really not looking good for Argentina as I wear their shirt. And then lastly, Colombia and Peru. Colombia is right now playing without their key player, James Rodriguez, due to injuries. He was deemed unfit due to the amount of injuries that he has. The recovery has not really gone as well as he imagined it to go. So unfortunately, he's not going to be in Copa America or the qualifying rounds right now. But he is pretty assumed to be with the team come Qatar 2022. This was another really bad game when it came to discipline. Both teams walked away at the end of the day with red cards. However, this lineup that Reynaldo Reda, the new head coach of Colombia, put together, very deep and very offensively guided. A lot of young talent in that midfield court. And you also had the Atalanta forwards of Duvan Zapata and Luis Muriel, which we both know how those guys are when they work together. They're just a major threat. So coming up the like, it's match day 8 as they call it, and then after that it's going to be Copa America. And here is what we got so far for match day 8, which happens all on Tuesday. We got Ecuador versus Peru, Venezuela, Uruguay, Colombia and Argentina, Brazil and Paraguay, and Chile versus Bolivia. Gonna kick it off to Chris. I know you're a big Brazil fan and a big Argentina fan, obviously, for Neymar and Messi. But altogether, though, seeing the competition, how it's gone thus far, and how these top teams have been playing, what are your score expectations, or even better, what are the actual matches that you're most interested about come Tuesday?
For the World Cup qualifiers, you definitely have to look at Colombia and Argentina as a good one, especially for where they're both standing right now. As you said, Colombia's in 6th, Argentina's in 2nd. Colombia desperately needs some points here. And with the way that Argentina has looked so far in 5 games, it hasn't been impressive. You know, if Colombia can keep the ball out of their own net, they'll look very well, as they've already scored 2 more goals than Argentina has in those 5 games, but they've also given up 8 more than Argentina has as well. So there's bits and pieces differently there. But I'm definitely looking forward to that. And then the other one for me, it was honestly, it's Venezuela and Uruguay, because I have high hopes for Uruguay. I'm waiting to see what they can do big time. And Venezuela hasn't looked too hot so far in the first 5. They've dropped 4 out of their first 5. And you know, if they want to make the World Cup, they have winning. So this is a must win for both teams, in my opinion.
Yeah. What about you, Andrew?
Yeah, no, I agree with Chris. I think Colombia and Argentina is the one that jumps off the page straight away to me. It's a big chance, I think, for Colombia to gain some points against a team who's also going to be up there in the qualifying spots towards the end of things. But to go in a different direction as well, I think Ecuador and Peru is a very important game for Ecuador. Like you said, Diego, they've been the surprise of the World Cup qualifying so far, currently in 3rd. So it's a great chance against the team currently in 10th to pick up 3 more points and keep on building, because they got to get as many points as they can now to sustain that, because as the pressure builds, they're going to run into some scary Brazil, Argentina, Colombia teams. So I think it's a good chance for them to keep on sort of building that resume if they want to sneak into the qualifying spots.
Absolutely. And I agree much with what both of you guys said. Obviously, the game to watch is definitely Colombia and Argentina. Colombia coming off with a new manager on board, a new team altogether, basically, and kind of like a new chemistry put together, because previously what was happening with Colombia and the reason they fell down so far down the table was their previous coach was kind of putting the stars in a pedestal where there was just no chemistry at all in the Colombian team at all. And they quickly fell apart, and hence where they are right now. Easily, if that chemistry was all together, Colombia should be second, maybe even third place right now. Maybe just literally right behind Brazil at this point. And with a healthy James Rodriguez, there's no question that they would be. However, then you look at Argentina, like I said, they got a scary started roster altogether. They have Ocampos, they have Messi, they have Di Maria, Paredes, they have Martinez actually starting for Argentina. Martinez has been absolutely phenomenal. Nicholas Tagliafico from Ajax, like, who's another phenomenal defenseman. They also have in their bench, this is how good their goalies are for the future too. They have Agustin Marchesín from Porto, who we saw in the Champions League just be unreal. The guy was an absolute wall for Porto. And I think part of the reason as to why Porto even went as far as they did. But then you look at their bench and you got some questions to ask yourself if you're Scaloni, who is the national team manager for Argentina, because you got Acuna, you got Alvarez, Gomez, Dominguez, and Lisandro Martinez, who are all these people that are just part of the national league who've had a good year thus far, maybe with teams like Racing, River Plate, and Boca Juniors. But other than that, nothing too earth shattering out of those guys. The only other guy that is actually really good in there is Angel Correa from Atletico, who, in my opinion, shouldn't even be a bench player right now. He should be starting. But it is what it is there. I think actually I'm most excited about Copa America, which also we've had news regarding Copa America. Colombia lost their hosting capabilities of the tournament due to the political unrest happening in the region, and Argentina also lost their hosting capabilities because of how they're dealing with the pandemic. So now Copa America is actually going to be played in Brazil. Who do we see as the actual potential winners of Copa America? Anybody go?
Brazil. I just don't see Argentina being as good as they can be during the tournament. I think if we're looking at a potential final, we're looking at it. In all honesty, it could easily be Brazil and Chile, in my opinion. I just, from top to bottom, I just don't like anybody else's chances besides Brazil. Brazil's just too talented and too deep all around.
No, yeah, I agree 100%. I think for me, Brazil is to the Copa America what France is to the Euros, where they're coming in as sort of the obvious favorites, just given how deep they are, how much attacking talent they have. You were listing all the names, Diego. It's an incredible depth of attacking flair that they have at their disposal. So, I mean, teams like Argentina at their best could give them a real run for their money, but I just agree with Chris. I don't really think Argentina is firing on all cylinders right now. Colombia is definitely not, as you just outlined, Diego. So I think Brazil probably is in the driver's seat to win this one.
I personally have three teams that I think could actually win it all. Obviously I like Brazil's chances. Great lineup altogether and whatnot. I surprisingly like Uruguay a lot. Luis Suarez and Cavani are two repurposed forwards with a lot to prove, that they have that chip on their shoulder, that they've just been phenomenal. Cavani was phenomenal for Manchester United, and Suarez, I mean, what a story he wrote this year with Atletico Madrid. Um, and realistically, I think I'm actually not gonna lie to you. I was actually very pleasantly surprised watching Colombia face Peru. They had a very good chemistry going again. They have a deep midfield threat where any of the substitutions that they make is just as good as if they had a starting lineup with those substitutions too. So realistically, I think that if Colombia can manage to put their heads where they need to be at and realistically play the football that we're used to seeing out of them, especially out of the last World Cup that they played, I think realistically they could win Copa America. But I think that the clear head winner here so far is obviously Brazil winning it at home. So we've done enough World Cup talk. Let's talk real quick about some of the transfers that have happened leading up to next season. One of the best transfers that we've seen so far is obviously Jorginho Wijnaldum, who was supposed to go to Barcelona initially, but PSG comes out of nowhere with a 24 to 48 hours to go and hijack the deal, steal Barcelona's thunder, and take Jorginho Wijnaldum. How are we feeling about this, and what are some other trades that you are excited about that have already happened or that are soon to happen as well?
I think just more anything. We're starting to see, especially in the Premier League, we're starting to see teams that are letting go of players. Like, for example, one of our own, Everton, Theo Walcott, gone. Josh King, gone. Robin Olsen's going back. You know, they dropped a bunch of, I think it was a total of like 11 players from the team already. So it's just curious to see how all this all plays out. And I mean, I don't know. I'm curious to see what these teams look like come the beginning of next year, because I'm ready for the Harry Kane drama. That's going to be a thing that we will literally be talking about every single week. And in all honesty, what does Arsenal do? Arsenal is a team to me that,
I know,
there's talks right now that they could be selling Nikita to Leeds. So there's pieces that are moving around right now potentially for them. But if I'm them personally, there's one signing that I'm 100% taking a chance on, and you know who that is?
Panorama.
Nope. It's a forward, actually.
Oh, a forward. All right.
Wilfred Zaha from Crystal Palace.
Oh yeah. Oh,
Arsenal
absolutely.
should call him immediately and get him.
Yes.
Get him to be their new striker.
Yes.
And then they need to figure out the Odegaard situation, because you're going to let him go back to Real Madrid. They has hit Real Madrid next year, unfortunately, with Carlo Ancelotti as their manager.
Oh, did that happen? I hadn't heard about that.
You get a nice shirt made for Andrew, and the manager leaves next year. Disrespect.
Yeah,
it's the
very
Ancelotti
disrespectful. It is. It has a whole new meaning now, doesn't it? Two teams in the Premier League specifically that I kind of have liked what they look to be doing so far are Aston Villa and then Leicester. So Villa specifically, it sounds like they're going in for Buendia from Norwich, who is a big part of them getting promoted to the Premier League this year, winning the championship. I think he would be a great addition to that team. Grealish on the left and him on the right would be pretty scary in midfield.
Would be, definitely.
I also saw some rumors floating around with them maybe trying to target James Ward-Prowse from Southampton, who I think would fit really nicely into that team as well, because if you think about Jack Grealish, one of his biggest attributes is that he gets fouled all game long by opposing defenses. And there's not too many players in the Premier League better than James Ward-Prowse at taking free kicks and scoring from free kicks. So that could be a perfect match there. And then Leicester, I'm not sure if it's confirmed yet, but I think they're probably going to sign the young French midfielder Soumare from Lille, which, to be honest, is exactly the sort of signing that I would hope Everton would make in this window. It's a young.
I think that was confirmed, actually. Now that I think
confirmed. All right.
Yeah.
He's 21 years old. He was already a big part of the Lille team that had a phenomenal season in Ligue 1. He has a lot of upside, I think, and they're not exactly breaking the bank to get him. So I think it's sort of a cool Leicester City signing that has propelled them to success recently. I think he's going to be a player who's going to help them out a lot in coming years.
I think real quick too, another team just in the Premier League alone is Chelsea. You know, we saw how talented this team is, but you know, their name is linked to a bunch of key players that could come in next year and make some big some noise. So looking at what this Chelsea team could look like next year would be very fun in my opinion. And then for somebody's Manchester United, there's a rumor that with them potentially getting Trippier from Atletico, that Wan-Bissaka might start moving over to center back.
Which honestly is really not a bad idea at all. And actually, now that I think about it, so at first I was questioning that move, right? Because you have a very good right back in Aaron Wan-Bissaka. In fact, probably the best right back in the whole entire Premier League, if you were to bring that argument up.
I don't know. Kyle Walker, pretty good.
I like Kyle Walker too, but when you look at Kyle Walker versus Aaron Wan-Bissaka and the amount of tackles that they both make, Aaron Wan-Bissaka is far more successful at those tackles than Kyle Walker ever is. That's just from a right back technique position playing. Do I think physicality wise Kyle Walker is far better than Aaron Wan-Bissaka? Absolutely. But I'm interested in seeing that because, first of all, Trippier is really good in the technique of his foot skills with the ball, something that Aaron Wan-Bissaka isn't really all that great at. However, I think it brings very good and healthy competition for him. Actually gives us a sustainable replacement. In the case that something happens to Wan-Bissaka, well, the only two options that we have are Diogo Dalot, who's coming back to Manchester United, and Brendan Williams. Really nothing that exciting there for right back. So if we have Kieran Trippier, that would be phenomenal. I want to say one of the interesting aspects that I'm curious to see how it unfolds in its entirety is the Antonio Conte story. We've seen his previous manager now take over the reins for Tottenham, which phenomenal, good for him. But I think for Conte, it is essential to be able to get, number one, the deal that he wants monetarily wise, but also the talents that he wants. And he needs to get, I think his name is Daniel Levy, if I'm not mistaken. He needs to get Levy to be actually committed to truly investing in his team, because it seems that Levy just wants to continue with cheap assignments. When you go cheap, this is exactly what you get. A crappy season in itself. So I'd be interested to see how that storyline unfolds. The other storylines that I'm interested on as well is now the Manchester United storyline developing as well with Jadon Sancho. It seems that, as we've been talking about it all season long too, is Borussia Dortmund is now far more lax in terms of what they want in return financially, but they just want to be able to open the books up a little bit and turn it into cash. So I think that if that is a deal that actually fully goes through, Manchester United could be a very serious threat to the Premier League coming up next season, especially with Jadon Sancho added, because now you have Now you have Marcus Rashford and Jadon Sancho in the wings, creating the attack along with Bruno Fernandes and Edison Cavani. I mean, that is absurd. The other thing that we need to address though is the goalie and a thanks, because I don't think David De Gea is going to be staying at Manchester United this season. I just don't see it happening. If he does, great, but again, you just continue to have more of the same drama with who do you start? De Gea over Henderson, when just this season Henderson was a far better keeper than De Gea ever could have been. I think another team that I'm really interested in seeing is actually Everton too. You guys are, I think you haven't decided yet on who your manager will be, which is a big.
That's the curiosity part of it.
I personally think Everton right now could benefit from a manager who is dying to get back into managing and actually have a chance again. And that is excuse me.
Say the name.
That is somebody like previous PSG coach who was a key component of making PSG the type of team that they are right now. And that is,
say his name.
That is LeBlanc. That is who I actually see Everton going for. Somebody who's creative, who's young, and who is willing to stay through and put with the team and fully develop a actual plan moving forward to the point that he could potentially take you guys to Europa League. I think for Ancelotti, it became more of a reason I'm not gonna be able to compete in any big tournaments. Investments are really not there. The pieces that I want, they don't want to go with that. What do? I'm used to competing in tournaments, and I'm used to being challenged to go deeper than that. While LeBlanc, that's somebody who's been sitting on the sidelines for about 2 or 3 years now, waiting for an opportunity to come knocking at his door. What is he gonna be waiting for? He's just gonna be excited to be coaching again. I think it'd be really important for you guys also to give James Rodriguez another piece, because that dude is taking a beating on a weekly basis in the Premier League. And if he chooses to stay with Everton, that beating is going to continue to come knocking at your door. And then lastly, I'm interested in seeing what Liverpool does too, because Liverpool are rumored to for 2 people. Rafinha from Leeds, which would be an amazing addition. I mean, I said it all season long last year. Leeds United's key player is Rafinha, and Rafinha was just sensational all season long. And you guys are also rumored to potentially go after Yuri Tielemans, who, my God, give Tielemans to Liverpool, game over. Just throwing the towel, because Tielemans, Thiago, Salah, Mane, and Firmino all together. That's not fair.
Don't forget my close personal friend, Portugal's own Diego Jota.
Yep, that's right. So, I'd be, and again, obviously, as like you alluded to, Chris, Harry Kane's story. I think that's a big deal that's going to happen. I personally think if Conte does decide to come to Tottenham, Harry Kane stays, and so will Heung-min Son. But if Conte doesn't come and a good coach doesn't come along the way for Tottenham, kiss those 2 goodbye. Other than that,
listen, I mean, now that we're all here, we're all talking. I did get a phone call today from Everton to become their new head coach, but I wanted at least 15 mil, and they couldn't give it to me.
Wow.
So I declined. But from what I heard, LeBlanc was definitely on the table for Everton as well. So Diego with a good call there, 100%.
I'll tell you what I want Everton to do. Hold
on. I want to write this down.
Yeah. What I want more than anything.
Hold on.
Hang on. Next Couch Guy Sport.
You got the pen out?
Sports article.
Nope. I need a good one. One that works. Hold on. This one. Nope. What the fuck? Why not have a pen?
We're building the suspense here.
Writer for crying out loud. All right, here I am. Let's go. Andrew's Everton lists.
What I would like them to do is
in chronological order. What do you want from most to least, please?
Well, it's just one thing that I want. I want them to let Marcel Brands hire the manager. They hired him to be director of football, to direct the football operations at the club. But he's come up with really nice plans, I think, for vision for the club of trying to get a squad age of 25. And he's outlined how many players he wants at each position. And he's outlined the type of signings that he wants to make. But then every time there's a vacancy in manager, they hire someone because Farhad Moshiri likes his name and thinks he can do a good job with the club. So no disrespect to Moshiri. He's been tremendous in terms of injecting money into the club, but you've hired Marcel Brands to direct your football operations and implement a vision into the club. So please just let him do his job and find a manager who works with his vision. And I think that will be a nice step in the right direction.
Okay, so I have down here on Andrew's Everton wish list, in all capital letters here. Help, we need help.
That is about right. Yeah. I mean, yeah, I just don't understand. Like, if you're going to bring in Marcel Brands and appoint him to such a high profile position, you got to let him do his job and be able to bring in signings that fit the vision that he wants to execute. So that applies to manager as well. He needs someone who's going to work with him to achieve that vision. Help wanted at Everton Football Club. Carlo, I thought you were better than this. I feel betrayed. But honestly, I don't blame him. He's gonna win at Real Madrid, and he would not have won in the next couple of seasons at Everton.
Okay.
So.
Well, now I have I just got off the phone with another close. Now I have Diego's Manchester United wish list. Without him confirming, it's also one step. Nothing too crazy. But it's bye De Gea.
It's actually more like Glazers out. That's all I
There
want.
you go.
Well, that's it. That just goes without saying. But I'm talking about like this. This could actually happen.
That could happen.
The Glazers might. The Glazers are going to take that team as far as they can.
You know what's another interesting storyline, and we'll go through
We're
here.
running low on time here.
You know what I think it's going to be really interesting? Oliver Giroud to AC Milan. Won't happen. Won't happen. If that does happen, AC Milan would actually have a real good chance of winning Serie A.
Won't happen.
I think it's going to.
Listen, just wait, because Juventus is going to be a lot better next year because Allegri is going to take them to the promised land. Yet again.
That too.
So get ready for more dominance in Serie A from Juventus with Allegri.
But do you think Allegri will manage to secure Paulo Dybala to stay with Juventus?
Even if they don't, he can get potentially two better pieces that could help the team rather than have Dybala at that price.
We'll give you Brendan Williams and David De Gea. Take them. Take them.
I drew my trade offer. It was Dybala for Paul Pogba. Other than that, I will not pick up the phone.
All right. So with that said, that does it for episode 38 of the Yellow Card Podcast. As we said earlier, make sure you check out CouchGuysSports.com. Check out their merchandise store as well, CouchGuysSportsShop.com. We're developing some new designs as well.
That's what I wanted to talk about. Real quick, Revolution Zone. Our Polish striker, Buska, is getting looked at by AS Monaco. Stay the fuck away from him. He's ours.
That's right.
Go Revs, go.
So episode 38 concludes here. Thank you so much for tuning in. Make sure that you give us a follow on Twitter at Podcast Card. Inject that into our veins as Chris is doing it. Signing off is Diego Galvis, Andrew Fasciano, and Chris Jones.
We off yet? Come on, I want a drink. Jesus Christ.
Until next week, see you guys.